Have you ever imagined waking up one morning and realizing that the money you earned while you were sleeping was greater than the money you earned by showing up to work? For most people, that sounds impossible. We've been taught from a young age that if we want more money, we have to work longer hours, get a better job, or ask for a raise. We grow up believing that our paycheck is the center of our financial life. But what if one day your paycheck became the smaller part of your income? What if your investments quietly started earning more than your job ever could? That moment doesn't just change your bank account. It changes the way you think, the way you make decisions, and the way you live your life. The strange part is that when this happens, your lifestyle may not look dramatically different from the outside. You probably won't wake up in a mansion overnight or suddenly buy a fleet of luxury cars. The biggest changes happen inside your mind long before they appear in your lifestyle. And that's exactly why so few people understand what financial freedom actually feels like. Most people spend their entire lives trapped in what experts often call the paycheck cycle. Every month follows the same pattern. You work hard, receive your salary, pay your bills, cover your expenses, maybe save a little if you're lucky, and then wait for the next paycheck to arrive. Your income depends completely on your ability to keep showing up every single day. If you stop working, the money stops coming. That system works, but it also keeps millions of people under constant pressure. Every unexpected expense feels like a crisis. Every economic slowdown creates fear. Every rumor about layoffs causes sleepless nights. That's because your job isn't just your source of income, it's your entire financial foundation. When all of your financial security depends on one paycheck, life becomes much more stressful than it needs to be. Now imagine a different reality. While you're working, your investments are also working. Shares of great companies continue growing. Index funds quietly compound. Dividend payments arrive without asking your boss for permission. Rental properties generate income whether you're sitting in an office or relaxing with your family. At first, these investment returns may seem small, almost insignificant. A few dollars here, a few hundred there. It doesn't feel life-changing. In fact, many people quit investing during this stage because the progress seems painfully slow. But what they don't realize is that wealth rarely grows in a straight line. It grows slowly at first, then faster, and eventually reaches a point where the growth becomes almost unbelievable. That's the quiet power of compounding. It rewards patience far more than excitement. One day, you open your investment account and notice something surprising. Your portfolio gained more in a single month than you saved from your paycheck. At first, you think it's just luck. Maybe the market had a good month. But then it happens again and again. Slowly, your investments begin contributing more to your financial life than your own labor. This is one of the biggest turning points in personal finance because you finally understand that wealth isn't built by working forever. It's built by owning assets that continue producing value long after the work is done. One of the first emotional changes is something most people never expect. Your fear starts disappearing. You don't panic every time your boss asks to speak with you. You don't constantly worry about losing your job because your future no longer depends entirely on one employer. That doesn't mean you become careless or lazy. It means you finally gain confidence. You're no longer forced to tolerate every stressful situation simply because you're afraid of missing your next paycheck. Financial independence doesn't only give you more money, it gives you the freedom to make decisions without fear controlling every choice. Another unexpected change is how you define success. Before investing became a major source of income, success probably meant earning a bigger salary or receiving a promotion. But after your investments begin growing faster than your paycheck, your priorities slowly shift. Instead of asking, "How can I earn more this month?" you start asking, "How can I build assets that will keep paying me for the next 20 years?" This is the difference between chasing income and building wealth. Income pays today's bills. Assets pay tomorrow's freedom. You also stop comparing yourself to other people. Expensive cars, designer clothes, and flashy vacations become less impressive because you understand something most people don't. Many wealthy-looking people are actually financing their lifestyle with debt, while truly wealthy people are quietly buying more assets. Real wealth is often invisible. It lives inside investment accounts, businesses, retirement funds, and ownership, not in expensive things designed to impress strangers. Once you understand this, your spending habits begin changing naturally. Every unnecessary purchase starts competing with a future investment. Suddenly, buying something isn't just about the price. It's about the opportunity you're giving up by not allowing that money to grow. As your investments continue expanding, another powerful shift happens. Time becomes more valuable than money. Earlier in life, you were willing to exchange almost any amount of time for extra income. Overtime seemed worth it. Weekend work felt necessary. But once your investments begin producing meaningful returns, you realize that your most limited resource isn't money, it's time. You can always earn more dollars. You can never buy back another year of your life. That's why financially independent people often focus on flexibility instead of constantly chasing higher salaries. They want control over their mornings, their evenings, their health, and the people they spend time with. Freedom slowly becomes more valuable than status. Perhaps the biggest surprise is that your personality begins changing in subtle ways. You become calmer during economic uncertainty because you understand that markets have always gone through cycles. You become more patient because you've experienced the power of long-term thinking. You stop searching for quick money because you've seen how consistent investing quietly outperforms emotional decisions over time. Instead of reacting to every headline, you learn to trust proven principles. That's a mindset very few people ever develop, and it's one of the greatest rewards of becoming an investor rather than simply a worker. But here's the truth that nobody likes to hear. Almost everyone dreams about the day when investments earn more than their job. Yet very few people are willing to do what it takes to reach that point. They want extraordinary results while following ordinary financial habits. They wait for the perfect time to invest. They spend everything they earn. They chase trends instead of building discipline. And years later, they wonder why financial freedom never arrived. The people who eventually reach this milestone usually don't have magical investing skills. They simply stay consistent when everyone else quits. They continue investing during good markets and bad markets. They understand that wealth is built through years of small decisions that most people never notice until the results become impossible to ignore. And this leads to an even bigger question. What actually happens when your investments don't just support your lifestyle, but completely replace the need for a paycheck? Because that's the moment when your entire life changes in ways most people never imagine. So what actually happens when your investments finally generate more income than your job? Surprisingly, the first thing that changes isn't your house, your car, or your wardrobe. The first thing that changes is your mindset. For the first time in your life, you realize that waking up on Monday morning is no longer something you have to do just to survive. You still have the choice to work, but now it's a choice instead of an obligation. That single realization creates a level of peace that most people never experience. The pressure to constantly impress your boss begins to fade. Office politics become less important. The fear of losing your job slowly disappears because your financial future is no longer controlled by a single paycheck. Instead of asking yourself, what if I lose my income? You begin asking, how can I continue growing my wealth while enjoying my life? That shift alone completely changes the way you approach every decision. Many people assume that once your investments earn more than your salary, you'll immediately quit your job. But that's rarely what happens. In fact, many financially independent people continue working for years. The difference is that they only do work they genuinely enjoy. They stop chasing promotions they don't want. They stop saying yes to projects that destroy their health. They become more creative because they're no longer making decisions from fear. Ironically, many people perform even better at work after reaching financial independence because they're finally free to focus on creating value instead of protecting their paycheck. Confidence replaces anxiety, and purpose replaces pressure. Another lesson becomes incredibly clear at this stage. Money solves financial problems, but it doesn't automatically create happiness. Once your basic needs and long-term security are covered, you'll realize that the things bringing the most satisfaction aren't things you can simply purchase. Strong relationships, good health, meaningful work, personal growth, time with family. These become far more valuable than another expensive watch or another luxury car. That's why many financially free people continue building businesses, volunteering, mentoring others, or creating projects they genuinely care about. They no longer work because they have to. They work because they choose to. Perhaps the greatest reward isn't the money itself. It's the confidence that comes from knowing your future no longer depends on one employer, one industry, or one paycheck. Economic recessions become less frightening. Unexpected setbacks become easier to manage. Life becomes more flexible because you've built a financial system that's designed to support you through both good times and bad. That confidence cannot be bought overnight. It's earned through years of consistency, patience, and discipline. The truth is, the day your investments begin earning more than your job isn't the finish line. It's the beginning of a completely different chapter. It's the moment when you stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like an owner. You realize that every investment you make is another employee working for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without ever asking for a paycheck. The more assets you own, the more freedom you create. And the more freedom you create, the more control you gain over your own life. So if you're still at the beginning of your investing journey, don't be discouraged because your portfolio looks small today. Every great investor started with a first investment. Every financially independent person once wondered if their money would ever make a meaningful difference. What separated them from everyone else wasn't perfect timing or extraordinary intelligence. It was consistency. They kept investing when progress felt slow. They stayed patient when others gave up. They trusted the process long enough for compound growth to completely transform their future. Remember this one simple idea. Your salary can pay for your lifestyle, but your investments can buy your freedom. Every dollar you invest today is another step toward a future where your money works harder than you ever have to. And when that day finally arrives, you'll realize that the greatest luxury in the world was never owning more things. It was owning your own time.